I'm living in Eddie's old house, therefore I must be in love with him?
Are you?
In love with Eddie?
It wouldn't be so
Well,
crazy.
except that I'm not.
Now, this is a kind of a big episode because for the first time, Maddie and Tommy kind of vocalize a question that I think the fans have had for maybe going on 5 seasons now about how Buck might really feel about Eddie. And it's kind of funny. This is going to sound like insane, but like, I almost feel like vindicated a little bit. Like, I know that like I'm not completely insane. What was your reaction when you found out that this topic was going to be kind of broached so directly?
I guess I was a little surprised by how head on we wanted to face it. Mostly surprised in the sense of, wanting to tread carefully, right? Like you don't want to upset anyone. You also don't want to lead anybody on in the wrong direction. So I've really learned to just trust in the writing of this show. I hope everybody could benefit from that. Tim is a master of what he does, and I just kind of place my fate, or Buck's fate, obviously, in his hands. And if he thinks it's best to confront it head on, then I do too, and I'm all for it.
Buck says pretty clearly, like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not in love with my best friend. Maybe he's in denial. Maybe he's telling the truth. I don't know. As the actor playing him, how do you kind of feel about that? Like, do you think he might be in love with him?
I think that's one. I don't think he's lying. Sorry, my dog's acting up in the background again. I don't think he's lying. I don't think, that doesn't mean that he's telling his whole truth. That I don't know, but he's certainly telling his truth in that moment. It's not like he has been consciously hiding this thing and, he's now fabricating this. What? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think it's anything like that. I think he is absolutely steadfast in his response that, no, this is ludicrous. This makes no sense. I don't know if that will hold true or not, but that is certainly his truth in the moment.
One of my favorite lines of the episode, and maybe of the entire series now, is when Buck says,
As much as everyone seems to want me to be hopelessly pining for my straight best friend, it just isn't like that.
in your interpretation, was the everyone in that, is he talking about the people in his life, or is he talking about the viewers at home?
I couldn't possibly comment. Yeah, there may have been. I mean, I don't know this, but maybe there was a nod to the audience in that. I don't think it's necessarily actually either of those, right? Because it's not like we've heard it from other characters on the show. I think it's just the timing of it coming out of Tommy's mouth makes the implication so much larger to Buck, It was hurtful, but for the first time, as he says in that scene, was able to sleep there. He was feeling at last good about things, and his world was really rocked by it. So even though it's only one person, Tommy saying it to him, I think the implication and the effect that it had on him was so much larger and more widespread.
That brings me to my other favorite line, which came from Tommy.
Competition with who?
Come on, Evan, don't make me say it.
Wait, Eddie?
I mean, you're living in the guy's house.
What? Okay, this is not his house. He was a renter, and he's straight.
Okay.
Is he firmly of the belief that Eddie is not entirely straight?
I don't think that's how the line was necessarily intended when it was written. Sometimes things are written, and on the day, the process of rehearsing and acting, you can discover new things, and they can move in directions that maybe weren't the initial intent, but still work for the scene and still help tell the story. So, I don't know if when that line was written, it was a clear confirmation or an accepting, okay. But it took on that on the day, and that's the choice that Lou is able to make for his character. We have some artistic license and liberty to take our characters, live and breathe with them. So yeah, that's the direction that he took it, and that's the whole point in what we do here, right? Is it's up for interpretation.
What can you kind of say about, where Buck is sort of headed as we go to, the rest of the season?
Yeah, he's going to have some really big hurdles that he's got to try and overcome as we move on. We have some really big, epic episodes coming up that I think is going to really put Buck into a new headspace and leave him with a lot of big decisions to make in his life, both in a professional and a personal sense, to be honest with you. So I think it's kind of uncharted waters for Buck coming up, and I guess a number of characters. Yeah, I think it's a really exciting end to the season that kind of shakes things up. Yeah, particularly for Buck.